Is the current housing market turmoil making it a bad time to buy a home? Or is there a hidden opportunity for success amidst the soaring interest rates and the plummeting mortgage demand? And really, when we talk about it, what are the consequences of homeowners refusing to let go of their ultra low rates? And what are we going to do when it comes to the dip in refinancing? The real question after all of this is there a silver lining? I think there might be. And we're going to be talking about that exactly right now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scale Through the Fail. I am your host, Robert Bean. And today we're talking about the market again. Who would have thought, right? A real estate show talking about real estate markets. But here's the reality that we're facing. The market's kind of crazy. We're seeing some dips in certain parts of mortgage demands. We're seeing interest rates being high. Then they drop down low and tease us a little bit. And then they go right back up. And it makes people wonder, is now a good time to buy with what's going on with mortgages, with what's going on with interest rates? I think there's a silver lining to it all. I actually think there's an opportunity here. And so we're going to be discussing that today. But of course, we got to first figure out what the mortgage is going on. Maybe. I see Larry in the green room. He's working on his microphone. All right, let's test it out, Larry. Unmute yourself.
Hey, can you hear me?
I hear you. Success.
No, you can't hear me?
I hear you. I heard you. You can't hear me?
I can't hear you, so I'm going to change my audio here. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2.
I still hear you.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
I hear you. No?
Here I'm put.
All right. What we're going to do is actually jump into our social media question of the day. Because Larry's having a bit of audio problems. Wouldn't be the first time I have had so many audio problems myself before. So, social media question number 1. You have 100K saved to invest in your real estate business. Besides buying real estate, which is the obvious one, what would you invest it in? That's the real question. What would you invest it in? Leave a comment on how you would invest $100,000 to grow your real estate business. I'm very curious as to what you would invest in. I think for myself, there's a couple different things that I would look at when investing, right? So, if I can't buy real estate, which would probably be my first option, buying real estate, then I would probably invest in more assistance and help. And that's probably what I would do. Is I'd invest in more assistance so that I could run more systems, processes, webinars, lead funnels, things like that. So, Larry, do you want me to give you another try? You want me to pull up here and try again? I can't hear you when you're in the green room, by the way, just so you know. Here, I'll pull you on. Unmute yourself and let's try again. You still can't hear me? All right. So that's the question of the day. You have 100K saved to invest in your real estate business. Besides buying real estate, what would you invest in? I said getting some more assistance so I can run more webinars and running those webinars to just have more lead funnels, more systems and processes that help me to nurture clients better. I probably also invested in a couple apps and programs to just smooth out the process. Like there's really nice tools that have like premium versions that I would love to use, but am not using currently because I just don't want to pay for the premium version of it. But if I had that extra money purely set aside and I wasn't buying real estate, I would probably just do a bunch of like infrastructure, if you will, upgrades. So leave a comment. I'd love to know. Now let's get into the kind of the first topic of the day, which is home buyers hit hard as mortgage applications plunge amidst a rate surge. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, um, you know that the rates have been volatile. They have been just all over the place. It's been brutal. There's nothing wrong with being honest here. They've been brutal. And so what happens is that since we saw a huge steep climb over into the 7% last week, that definitely pushed down a lot of mortgage applications, right? People get nervous, even though a mortgage application is not a commitment. Like, see, this is a very important distinguisher. A mortgage application is not a commitment to go get a mortgage. It's just investigating it. It's kind of like you're walking into the store to buy something, but you just looking at it does not mean that you purchased it and you're tied to the price that it is. So people shouldn't be afraid to do a mortgage application, even if rates were 100%. They shouldn't be afraid because there is no commitment. So it's actually really silly because what happens is that when the rates go really high, right? That's called the peak or the top of where interest rates might be. Then we usually will see a dip, which we're going to talk about later today, actually, a dip that we saw. And had people been applying last week, they would have been able to lock in rates this week and set themselves up to be a lot more successful. So what happens is they're being reactive instead of proactive. And that always hurts your business, hurts your opportunity. So that's why we want to stay on top of it. So we're seeing that plunge. I think the concerns are valid as we're reading here. So some of the highlights of what we're seeing, right? Mortgage applications for home purchases dropped by 4.8% as interest rates reached a 2-month high, right? Over 7%. Purchase applications hit a month-long low due to rate volatility and limited inventory, which makes complete sense. Average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed rate mortgages rises to 6.57. That's the average. So to be clear, that's just the average. Mortgage rates increased despite flat treasury yields, widen the spread between fixed rate mortgages and 10-year treasury rates. And then even refinancing applications plummeted by 8%. This is normal when it goes high. But again, it doesn't actually make sense when you think of it from a logical standpoint that applications would go down because nobody is even buying a home. You don't apply today and buy a home tomorrow generally. You usually apply, you got to go get your stuff done, submit your documents, go through your pre-approval process, and then then you might find something under contract. You use your pre-approval letter. That might not close for another 30 to 60 days. There's usually quite a process. And if you have an attentive loan officer and you have an attentive agent, you'll be monitoring those rates and then you'll be ready to go. And then the moment that there's a good rate, you lock it in and you're on your way. There, you want me to give you another go? Yeah? All
Can
right.
you,
Can you
can you
hear
hear
me
me
now?
now? Hello?
I hear you.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know. It's not my hardware. I have to reset my browser over and over and over, and finally, I guess it works. So, yeah, I really appreciate you guys being patient as I get my tech together.
Get your tech together, Larry.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Well, what we were talking about today, you actually the first article we're covering was the fact that we saw refinancing applications plummet by 8%. We saw mortgage applications plummet. But what I was saying is it actually doesn't make much sense that applications actually go down. It's one of those kind of like illogical reactive responses, because an application is just an application. It does not mean that, oh, interest rates last week were 7.12%, therefore I shouldn't apply. Well, first of all, whatever interest rate you got on the day that you applied is not the interest rate you're going to end up closing on. It's foolish to think that you're going to get what you see right in front of you. You're not. You're going to get whatever you get when you lock it in. And what I was saying is that had you applied, let's say you were waiting to apply, had you applied last week when it was high, well, maybe we should just tell them what the mortgage is going on. What do you think?
Yes, I agree.
I think we need to do that.
Yes.
All right. Well, Larry, the question is what the mortgage is going on.
Actually, great news. We saw 2-week lows, and it was really quick, meaning like it wasn't a sideways movement like we talk about. It actually went up really fast and then went down really fast, right? Which is actually an indication of certain news or certain updates and the basically the industry reacting to it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put it this way: this is not accidental. It didn't drop on accident. It actually dropped intentionally because of reactions to what's going on. And the weaker data. Oh, actually, I actually go rates. Sorry, we were in the 7.125, which was like, oh my gosh, this is like a 6-month high. But now we're at 6.85, which I wouldn't say is awesome, but it's been around where we've been at. In fact, we always talk about this, Robert. This is about where you predicted rates would be, right?
Who would have thought?
Yeah, and we've been on the show.
I'm on to something.
Yeah, we've been on the show for like 3 months, maybe whatever. It's basically the same number that you've been saying. We're going to be in the 6.75, 6.85 area, and for the foreseeable future. So we set expectations for this. So that's why we're positive about this. We're like, we already saw this coming. We knew this is going to be the way it is, and we're happy about it because we can make informed decisions based on the fact that we already expected this. The 7.125 we weren't expecting, right? So that's why I would think is great news.
And there's something really important for people to understand. And agents and the average person just really don't seem to understand this. And this is just data driven, and you can go fact check me. Go ahead. I always support that. But generally, what happens anytime you see an extreme high, good or bad, by the way, depending on the context, there will usually be a low shortly after.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Again, whether that's an extreme high in a positive way, extreme high in a negative way, doesn't matter. You will almost always see a low. And like I just said, had you done your application 7.12, had you turned around and done that week, then the moment it hit 6.85, you would have been ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Right?
Yep.
And that's a 0.27 difference. And that's some money right there.
Yes. And what Robert's saying is actually very, very true strategically. If you are looking to buy a house, it doesn't make sense to see the rates go up and decide to put on the brakes. When you see the rates go up in a really sharp manner, that's when you should apply, right? Because now you're ready to make a move the moment the rate go down. Because, yes, for the most part, historically, sharp increases always results in a sharp decrease, okay? Yep. Will the decrease be lower than it was before? We don't know. But a sharp decrease...
But it doesn't even matter because it is lower than your current option.
Yep.
Of in this case, right where we're showing you 7.12. Some days, I'm not gonna lie, Larry, I almost get frustrated because I'm like, I'm trying to save you money. Like, I don't benefit from anyone going and doing this. I'm not getting paid by giving this advice and someone goes and locks the rate and saves money. I don't make any money from that.
Yep.
I want people to win.
Yes. Yes.
I just
I
want you guys to win.
I do benefit as a loan officer if I have a client doing this strategy, right? But if I
Right,
don't,
and I do too, right? As a real estate agent, if they have more buying power, that definitely puts them in a
but
better
I'm in the same
position.
boat as you. I'm in the same boat as you. There's hundreds of people watching this, and I'm not even connected to you guys, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, Robert's very, very right, and he's very smart about it. A sharp increase will always lead to a sharp decrease. That's why when the rates go up, people start pulling the brakes when they shouldn't. They really should be applying and getting ready, because when it does decrease, then they can take advantage. And the only time it doesn't immediately shoot down or shoot up after a sharp increase or decrease is when we have unforeseeable things like COVID, for example. Yeah, like it was a sharp decrease and it stayed there for a long time, longer than we expected, because
Well,
COVID.
here's the thing. Remember, we're not just talking long term. So even during COVID, we saw a sharp decrease, and then it would jump up again.
Yep.
And then it jumped down. And so that's the thing is, so just so you guys know how day traders make money in stocks, it's exactly what I just told you. They turn around, they look for the trends, and they play the trends. Okay. And so if they see a peak and then they think that a drop's happening, they might short it, they might turn around. And we won't get too much in that. But my point is that if you want to win at real estate, then you need to use winning tactics. Winning tactics are not going, I shouldn't apply for a loan, which at that time is not, sorry, let me be more clear. I shouldn't have put in a mortgage application, which is not affected by interest rates. It doesn't lock you in. It doesn't mean, and anything you're going to get that day, unless you lock it that day, it's not going to be your rate anyway.
Yep.
And so if you want to play smart, then you should just get that application going as quickly as possible. Finish it as quickly as possible. Well, I might not buy for 30 days. Do it today. Do it today, because you have no idea when the opportunity strikes. And when it does strike, it could be thousands of dollars that you're saving, making, whatever the way you want to put it. There's times where right place, right time for homes coming on the market. Well, if you're not ready and you're not pre-approved, and then you go, well, I didn't see anything I like. Well, tomorrow you might.
Yes.
Like, what? It's a foolish approach. And I want people to win. And the problem is that agents encourage this behavior. They go, yeah, I know. There's really just not anything. I'll tell you to keep an eye out. I go, no. Okay, there might be something tomorrow. So you're going to go connect with Larry. You're going to get your pre-approval done. And then the moment that we see the right home, we're going to snatch it up so fast. I'm going to be all over that. Right? And there are those rare moments. And when they happen, you feel like a champion, and you beat out everyone else because you were the most prepared.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's talk about some mortgage-backed securities.
So, as you can see, the mortgage-backed securities increased in price over $1 over the week.
Okay? Which is a big deal because they've been dropping.
Yes,
$1 the last 2 weeks.
Yes, so it's almost like it kind of bounced back, I guess, so to speak, right? Or it went back to normal, whatever you want to call it. And like Robert has been talking about, 9.8. The interest rates being in the area of 6.85. That's normal for us, right? So again, we got the mortgage-backed securities back to normal, like we were saying, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, maybe wondering why is this happening? Because it's such a huge jump. It was a huge jump and it is a huge decrease. Is because the Fed is actually talking about maybe potentially skipping the rate hike this month, right? And what that means is that they're saying we don't need to increase the rates, which means they're saying.
And remember, like, to give them context, they have not been skipping, guys.
Yeah, they haven't been skipping. They've been pretty aggressive.
And every time they said they might not skip, they usually hike it up. It's
yeah,
like so it's actually a pretty big deal
It's a huge deal. Yeah, it's a huge deal
And that's
because
why we see it reflected in the numbers.
yeah, it's almost like they're saying, you know what? I'm not going to go to work today. I don't think we have anything to worry about. That's literally what's happening, right?
Yeah.
We don't have anything to worry about this month. I'm going to go ahead and just take the month off. That's basically what they're saying, right? And what that
Mhm.
means is that they're not afraid of the inflation. That's basically what they're saying, right? And because they're not afraid of the inflation, everyone's like, okay, well, that's great news. That means that interest rates should actually go down. That means we should buy mortgage-backed securities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So
Yep.
that's basically what's happening. Can we go back to the overall? Sorry, I didn't mean to
Absolutely.
skip
No, it's
that.
okay. I just didn't wanna.
Right. No, I feel you on that one. So if you can see across the board, it's a sharp decrease, like literally a quarter of a point on almost on the FHA, on the VA, right? So it's one of those things where, I mean, that's the thing about interest rates, is they all kind of work together, right? So even if you're on a VA loan, you could basically be at 6.5, right? And FHA is 6.5, right?
Right.
Which is actually really good if you think about it. Because again, Robert and I have been talking about 6.75, 6.875.
So
Six
if you're
point,
six
yeah,
and a half, you're right in the middle of where I've been saying for months now, right? I mean,
yep,
what,
yep.
February, I think, is when I started calling that range. Because
Hmm.
January, you can't tell anything. January is the new year. There's budgets, there's fiscal reports, there's a bunch of crap going on. So you have
Hmm.
no idea what's going to come out. But once we got those reports, I was like, based off of those reports, I think we're going to sit right around, I said, what is it? I said 6.4, 6.3, 6.4
If
to
I
6.8, 6.9.
Yes, you were a little below six and a
I had
half.
a five in there, the five margin.
Yeah, yes, you were definitely in above 6.5 in terms of the range, right? But below, you hit a little bit below,
Mm-hmm.
but not nowhere near 6.25 or 6 point whatever,
No,
right?
no, no,
Yeah.
no. I
So
think I was 6.4 to 6.9.
yeah,
I
and
think
that
that
sounds
I like to go in fives. I think the fives give us a good spread where it's not too far and it's not too, gives you a good range. And so far, I've been really close. When we had that spike last week, um, which I'll say for me was there. When you get to debt ceiling, I already talked about this. I forgot to factor in debt ceiling negotiations.
I
Had
think
I said
most
that,
people did. Most people did. So
yeah, had I remembered that, I would have adjusted temporarily. But as you can see, it went right back down to the range
yep.
that I believe it's going to sit at. I think this is going to be our new norm. And then if you want to make it really broad, like a full point, I think we're going to generally always sit right between 6.2 and 7.2. I think we're going to every now and then have political crap that drives it over 7. And then I think we're going to settle down right into 6.5, 6.6. Then we're going to have some good things, right? Like remember when, whether you love him or hate him, doesn't matter. We're just talking facts. When President Trump was elected and the stock market had was it the best opening it had ever had in history? Or at least it was like 20 or 40 years. It was absurd. It was just unbelievable record breaking numbers, which drove obviously things valuations through the roof. So like I think we'll see things like that, but I really think 6.5 to like 6.6 is going to become an average for us.
Yeah, and the fact that you're pointing that out, it's a very, a lot of people don't realize it or they're not thinking about it, but basically what we're trying to explain to you guys with this information is that this is kind of the new normal, right?
Mhm.
I'm not saying that you're not going to see rates in the fours and the fives again. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what Robert's saying either, right? We don't have a crystal ball, but based on everything that's happening, being in the sixes is kind of how it is. It is what it is now, basically, right? So anything in the sevens, okay, well, yeah, that's not good. But anything in the sixes, well, that's kind of what we're expecting, right?
Yeah,
And there's some, like I said, politics and things like the bank failures that kind of increase volatility, whatever. Inflation's still a thing, right? So yeah, I mean, I think once inflation is no longer something that we're worried about, then we'll probably still see the rates the way they are.
agreed.
Even this article that I based a lot of my information from, it says all this despite the debt ceiling deal passing the House and likely to pass the Senate more easily. So even they're saying that the debt ceiling deal is going to pass, is not affecting anything at this point. right?
Yeah.
It's basically the weaker data. The fact that the Fed's like, we're gonna take the month off. That was like the game changer for the entire conversation, right? Um, so we've actually kind of covered all this already.
We did.
But yeah, again, mortgage are the 2 week lows right now. Um, even though the ceiling conversation kind of creates some volatility, the weaker data, meaning like the Fed saying we're probably not going to skip, we're probably not going to hike the rates this month. That basically was a positive for interest rates for mortgages. Basically saying they're going to skip with the rate hike, and then of course, what we've been saying, Robert's been right the entire time. Like basically, high sixes. Welcome to home buying. The home buying.
Welcome to the new normal.
Yeah.
I mean, we are establishing a trend here, which we've talked about is very, very important. When you're looking at all this stuff, you have to look for trends. And I would say that we're going on 5 to 6 months of a trend. Yeah, there's little outliers, but again, you don't take the outliers, you remove those. Those are variables that are not included when we talk about this stuff.
Last week was very indicative of that, because when the race went to 7.12, it was a 6-month high, right? That means for 6 months, rates were not in the 7.12 area. Maybe they're in the sevens, but not in the 7.12, right? So the trend was lower than 7.12 for the most part. And
exactly.
Basically being in the sixes, high sixes, is where the trend is. It's again the normal, right? It's where, if you're gonna ask me if someone says, "Hey Larry, what's the interest rates nowadays?" High sixes is basically what I'm gonna say.
Yep. Yep. So moral of the story, guys, just go get your applications done.
Yeah.
And you don't have to buy today. You're not locked into the interest rate. And I think we'd see more applications and I put a lot of the burden on agents, because I think, we're quarterbacks in many ways, where we get to say that you never heard anybody say like a linebacker led someone to the Super Bowl victory. But you absolutely hear Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and they are the shot callers. And I think that agents are the shot callers the majority of the time. And in fact, I think if you're not the shot caller as an agent, I think there's a problem there. I think that there's something going on in that relationship. So I think we'd see more applications and less fear if agents were educated better, and if agents went out and educated their clients better. Right. Because I've seen agents go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that rates are where they are," and basically encouraging people not to apply. And I'm like, but if you knew even the slightest bit of trend, you know that next week we're probably going to see a dip. Hey guys, guess what happened? We saw a substantial dip. There would have been a lot of clients who would have benefited greatly from that drop and locking something in.
Yep, absolutely.
And I would be showing homes to those clients, by the way. I would be very proactive because I know the trends and I know what's going on. So I would have been like, yeah, we're getting you pre-approved still. Yeah, it's 7.12. We're getting you pre-approved. We're going to still see those homes. We're going to even put in offers.
Yep.
Right? We're going to get to work.
Yeah, I mean, Robert using the quarterback analogy is really good, because this is a game of inches, right? And meaning you take every single advantage you can get in order to be competitive in this buying market, because it is competitive out there, right? And if you know that the majority is going to react to increasing rates as I'm going to slow down, I'm not going to apply, then you have less people in the field making offers, right? That's why you should jump in, because because we're telling you right now that the rates are going to go back down. You're competing with less people. You're applying. You're looking at a couple of houses. You might see that one house that you like, and now the rates have dropped down. You go and accept the offer as fast as possible, and you tell the lender, "Hey, I know the ink is not even dry on the contract yet. Can you please lock the rate?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. I have an address, and that's all I need." You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, I've actually locked rates. I mean, I'm pretty sure Robert has heard me talk about this, but I've locked rates where I didn't even get a contract yet. I knew that they're making an offer. I knew they wanted it. The rates were kind of in the moment where it was a sweet spot, and I locked it, and we already had it like ready to disclose before we even got the contract, right? And we saved that couple like 5 figures because I was able to lock the rate before we got the contract. You can't make those moves if you haven't applied and gotten pre-approved yet.
That's right. Because Larry won't have he won't have the authority he needs, but he also won't have the information.
Yep.
Right? He can't lock something that doesn't exist.
I can't lock a rate without a credit application. I don't know what your credit scores are at. I can't lock that. I can't lock anything, So yeah, basically you give us everything, and all we're missing is the address. And once we have an address, boom, we can lock it right away. I've done it many times.
Yep. So when we jump back into kind of what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about home buyers being hit hard, mortgage applications plummeting, and things like this, and it all looks doom and gloom. Surprise, surprise, everything's doom and gloom. Here's the reality, though. If I went and told you something like vanilla is a very average ice cream, would you turn around and say, oh my gosh, the ice cream industry is falling and it's going out of business? Would you do that, Larry?
No.
If I went, I'd be like, man, vanilla is it's pretty average.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't think doom and gloom.
Well, here's the thing. Mortgage applications went down because people are reactive and they jumped up. That's not a scary thing. That's not a doom and gloom. That's people being the way that people have been for as long as we've had mortgages, and obviously before too, but I'm just saying particularly in mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
And then people need to stop. By the way, I think this needs to stop. People need to stop comparing to COVID times.
Yep.
That's an anomaly, right? That's an anomaly. That's why you can't compare yourself to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Those are literally guys who are 1 in 7 billion.
Yep.
Right? They are not your average Joe. And there's so many variables in that crap. Like, it's not an educated and not a smart way to compare. So when you see the news saying mortgage applications are plummeting, refinances are plummeting by 8%, okay, take a deep breath. One, realize they might have helped cause that plummet. That more than likely they helped cause that plummet. Real smart there, guys. But then two, just ask yourself why first. Ask yourself, okay, but why? Why did refinancing applications go down by 8%? You know that sometimes the news reports things that are normal and spins it as a bad thing?
Yep.
Like every now and then the news will pull something out and they'll be like, oh, I can't believe that during Christmas time, less people are buying homes. Well, during Christmas time, statistically, less people buy homes. I don't understand why we're trying to pretend that everything has to be perfect all the time.
Yep.
And so, I just look at this and it doesn't really make me afraid. And then Powell comes out and says, man, we might be just skipping the rate hike. Guys, why live like this?
Yep.
Why do this to yourself? Agents, why aren't you educating? And I coach and train and I follow and support, and Larry, you do too. So I want you to correct me if your perspective's different. But from my perspective, I see agents who are just as afraid or are just as ignorant as the consumers they're supposed to be advising from an expert level.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I mean, if they're the QB, if they're the QB, they need to know the plays. They need to know who they're about to go up against and how to beat them, right? I mean, let's just put it this way: if you don't have the advisory role or position as the agent, then how else are they supposed to get the information? They're just going to end up Googling it, and if they Google it, then they're going to end up getting picked up by another agent or lender. Right. Or they might just talk to other people. Right. So it's one of those things where like education and being informed is going to make you more valuable to your clients, and therefore they're gonna take your lead. And as a quarterback, you're gonna call the plays. And we're telling you right now, as a quarterback, you should have all your clients apply as soon as possible.
You know what? You know what this would be like? This would be like if freaking Tom Brady goes to the Super Bowl, right? And he's getting ready to go to the Super Bowl, and he goes to the other team and says, what calls should I make? An agent going to the news to learn how to advise to their clients is literally Tom Brady going to the other team and saying, what plays should I call? What should I tell my team to do?
Yep.
What do you think the other team's going to do? They're going to do everything they can to disrupt, distract, and destroy.
Yep.
What has the media done since its inception? It wasn't designed to inform people. It wasn't designed to educate. It was designed to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
Destroy your sense of security, destroy your sense of hope and optimism. The media was here, and it is designed to drive fear and division. And by the way, it's both sides. So if you're taking a side and you think Fox is better than CNN and all those, they are all playing to an agenda. And by the way, if you do your research, a lot of these companies are owned by the same people who play both sides.
Yep, they're starting a war on purpose, which we compare to shaking an what do you call it? If you had like an ant farm, shaking an ant farm. They're constantly shaking the ant farm, or they're putting red ants and black ants together, and they're forcing them to fight each other, but they own the ant farm themselves. It's and I mean, if you really want to get down to it, which I don't know if we have time to really get too deep. But what does the media need to do? They need to sell ads. They need attention. They need people to constantly tune in. So how do they do that? By creating fear. Like you said, Robert, you create fear. It makes them think, oh crap, this is bad or whatever. And they're going to always pay attention to the news to hear what's next because they're afraid. Right.
So agents, you're supposed to be an expert. You don't go to the news for your sources. Just to be clear, you go to the data. Okay. That is one of the most powerful tools that Zillow doesn't offer people. That the news doesn't offer people. You go straight to that MLS and you pull out those numbers. You go straight to your loan officer and you pull out interest rate trends and you learn this crap. How long does it take someone to watch what the mortgage is going on? Couple minutes.
Oh, well, yeah.
Unless we get off on a tangent.
Yes.
And it's like 10 minutes. 10 minutes to be on top of your game. Okay? And so every loan officer out there, I'm going to put them to the test. Hold them to a higher standard, guys. They should be updating you every week. They should be teaching you. Because if they're not teaching you, they're probably not teaching their clients. Your clients. So what are they doing? How are they making the industry better? How are they driving away fear? Silence in the stance of fear is still supporting fear. Oh, I just didn't want to get involved. You are involved, though. You are. Every last one of us. We are a direct influencer to our sphere of influence. You either influence them towards the truth and the facts and the data, or whether passively and indirectly, or you're directly steering them into darkness. Getting real today.
Yeah, if your lender can't answer a question like that quickly, like what's today's rates, why are things going, they're probably not doing business, which is scary, right? They should know, like literally by at least the day at the least, what's going on with interest rates, what's going on with the market, everything like that. Because again, if they're not, then they're not paying attention because they don't have a reason to pay attention, which means that they're not doing business. So.
And this is something. So I put a lot of fire on loan officers, but I think I generally put a lot of fire on agents. But this is a loan officer not being able to talk about interest rates, mortgage applications, the data and the facts is the same thing to where imagine you walked up to a real estate agent, okay? And this real estate agent wants your business, Mr. Seller and buyer, and said, and they go, "Hey, Mr. Real Estate Agent, why is now a good time to buy?" And the agent goes, "I don't know, but you should do business with me." No. Could you imagine you go to a doctor? "Hey, doctor, how can you help me?" "Oh, I can't." "Oh, but I do want you to still come in and I'm going to run all this stuff, but I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm going to teach you. I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to give you guidance. I'm not going to help you fix the problems you're facing or address the fears that you've expressed. I'm just going to leave you clueless and in the dark." Would you be like, man, 5 stars, best doctor ever?
Right.
You'd be like, that guy's an idiot. I don't even trust him. Man, revoke that guy's license. He doesn't even seem like he knows what he's doing. Well, agents, do you know what you're doing? Let me phrase that question differently. Do your clients know that you know what you're doing? I bet you, I know this is going to hurt a little bit, but I bet you a lot of them don't. I bet you a lot of them don't, and they just like you. Because you're probably very personable. That is one thing that's fairly consistent among real estate agents is you're generally a pretty personable individual, easy to get along with. But our job is not being about easy and amicable, right? We represent the greatest purchase in someone's life almost always. It's a very serious job. Now let's move away from the serious job. Well, actually, news or noise, Larry, with the momentum rates and things like that. Or
Yeah,
applications, sorry.
I think it's noise because again, they're designed to create fear.
Well, it's what we expected. Like, duh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's put it this way: the news is you just need to know how to react to it. The noise is don't let the data or the information they're providing make you feel bad or negative, or have you like you said, the sky is falling type of thing, right? It's not that's not how you should react to it at all.
Do you ever get snow where you are, Larry?
Like once in a blue moon type of thing. Like I don't think we got
anyone who
any
knows
this year.
snow, who lives in snow areas, you know what? When we get super bad snow or ice storms, people go to the market and they clean out the shelves with milk and bread.
Oh yeah,
2 of the easiest things to expire. You want idiocracy. You want to realize, and you know what the news does every time? They go, oh my gosh, all these people are taking milk and bread from the shelves as if it's something new. They do this every time. And do you know why the vast majority of people do it? Because they saw someone else do it on the news.
Yes.
Guys, I'm gonna give you a quick survival tip. Who would have thought? Here. Don't buy extremely perishable sensitive foods if you're trying to stock up through something. I can't believe I have to say that. Milk expires very fast. Bread expires very fast.
Yes.
Maybe you should buy some stuff that doesn't.
Yes.
All right, moving on. I got a fun one for us today. I actually just saw this one, so it's not even in the slideshow. It is a post I saw, and I was like, "Oh man, we gotta talk about this." I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I can't even believe this is a real thing. All right, I'm pulling it up right now. All right, so this was a post. I took a picture of it and cropped it and brought it here. So, how far would you go for a $14 million listing? Some high-income sellers test agents to see if they're worthy. In one of 2 strangest request stories, a Houston agent agreed to undergo acupuncture. This is true, by the way. This is true. New York, 2 real estate agents recall the strangest requests made by clients. Dee Guggenheim, Hose. Wow, long name. Is it Hose? Is it German? House.
Maybe house.
At Houston-based Compass Real Estate said one client asked that she and possibly her assistants undergo acupuncture when they visited him for a listing appointment. It was a test, House said. At this price point, the house was about $14 million. Clients sort of think they can test you. It was his way of seeing whether I would do what I needed to do to get the listing and follow along with him and his ways. The lesson, House said she took from the session: you never know what to expect in insert luxury market. You just have to go with it. Initial reaction, Larry.
I'm sorry. I would be that agent. Yes. Acupuncture. Why not? Right. I mean,
are you serious?
Absolutely. I would go for. I've never had it before.
But you would do it even if you didn't have a business. If you were going to someone's mansion and they invited you over and they're like, hey, we're going to do acupuncture, you'd be like, yeah, sure, why not?
Absolutely, I would. The only thing I wouldn't do is illegal stuff, obviously, or stuff that if I wouldn't consume certain things. Like, hey, Larry, you gotta drink this toilet water.
But you would let needles be stuck into you from someone you haven't even vetted?
Well, I mean, I would think that they would have someone, a professional
Why?
puncturing
Why
me.
would you think that though? Why would you assume that, Larry?
It's a $14 million listing. I mean, they have to have some sort of money. I mean, unless they're like total
Doesn't mean
psychos.
that they know what they're doing. There's a lot of rich people who do dumb things. Have you ever
Well,
watched the Kardashians?
no, I've never watched the Kardashians, but I can imagine, right?
Jersey Shore. I mean, the Bachelor, the Bachelorette. Like,
I mean, okay, so if it's the person, if it's like the person selling the house when to do acupuncture, I might be leery about it, right? Because
you'd still
obviously,
do it. I can see it on your face.
oh man, I can.
Well,
I guess the article is like, how far would you go? Would you do something you've never done before? Yes. Would you allow someone who isn't qualified to do it? I don't know about that. Like, I would not let an immature person, give me a root canal, because obviously they're gonna screw it up, right? But would I be willing to get a root canal, even though I've never had one, in order to get a listing? Absolutely, yes, I would. If it was from a professional, yes, 100%. So that's I guess that's my line that would wouldn't cross or whatever.
we're gonna tune Larry out on this one. Do not. I can't. I should have known though. You're crazy, Larry. You literally are crazy. I would absolutely not even remotely entertain the idea unless I knew as a professional and I wanted an acupuncture, right? And I would be looking at that like it would be like if I was going to go out to eat already and someone's like, "Hey, you want to go get lunch?" And I'd be like, "Well, yeah, I was already going to go and get it, so that sounds good to me." But this agent sounded like they knew it was a test. If you have any client that is going to try and make you do non-real estate related things to earn their business, I'm going to tell you, run far away. Yeah, that's right, Larry. Turn around and get out. Run. Man, you I don't want to get in trouble for saying this, but I think you'll laugh at it, so I'm going to risk it. You'd be the the little Asian kid from Indiana Jones.
Yes.
What are you doing here?
Yes. I mean, yeah, I'm crazy. I mean,
You are crazy, dude. You are.
I pledged 2 fraternities. So I've kind of been around the block. In terms of doing crazy things for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
You muted yourself.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah.
I was saying, yeah. So being, put in a situation where I have to decide to do something I've never done before. I don't want to do. I didn't think about doing. I never planned on doing. Just for the purpose of doing it, it's not abnormal for me.
Do you remember that old MTV show that was like what people would do on summer break for money? And they would go to like wherever the big summer breaks are usually, and they have the big beach festivals, and it's a mess. And they would have a stage, and they would just pick these kids who spent all their college money just to go to spring break.
Yep.
And they would say, "What would you do for $100?" And then it would be like nasty stuff, weird stuff. And like I just see you there, like, yeah, I do everything. Check.
I've been there, done that. Let's go.
You're like, that? I did that last week. That ain't no problem.
I did it for free.
Listen, I gotta say though, okay, I think this is very creepy. I think it's very creepy to have and I think it's twice as creepy. I know people get mad about gender stuff, but I still believe that it's twice as creepy when a man asks a woman in a professional setting to do something that is private and intimate. If you don't think, by the way, that acupuncture isn't private and intimate, how would you feel if one of your clients, Larry, started asking your wife to go get a massage?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, those kind of things is kind of weird. I forgot acupuncture. You have to be naked or whatever. It is medical. I mean, to me,
it's intimate. They're probing you.
Yes, you are. You're right. They are probing
It's
you.
weird, right? It's not a reasonable request, and that's how they want you to get your business, not your intelligence, not your capabilities, but your willingness to submit, that is some weird stuff, man. And I would be very, very wary of anyone that would ever, and I don't care what price point it is. I don't care what price point it is. That's the type of person who makes you jump hoops through everything and still doesn't get you paid.
Maybe Didi was thinking about doing acupuncture anyways. You know.
And I did give some grace for that. I said, listen, if I was already going to go get acupuncture and this person was a professional, I'd be like, man, 2 birds, 1 stone. I'm good.
Yes.
Right. I would probably still do it then because it's like I was already going to do it, but I would not do it to get business. Right.
I used to sell artwork door to door. I've done some crazy stuff to get a sale. So, like people made me do jumping jacks, cartwhels. I had to
What's that song? Ooh, look what you made me do.
Yes.
Look what you made me do.
I had to cheer the rival college team. Like woo, like the other team just to get a sale. So I've done some things just to get some sales. So yeah, I guess there's no shame in my game.
To be honest, and I know this may sound mean, and this was given by Didi, so it's like she put herself out there to be judged, right? My brain says I think less of Didi. Now, here's the thing. For everyone watching, tell me if I'm a hypocrite. Tell me if you disagree. Tell me if you think it's reasonable. Just because I have an opinion or an impression doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean that my mind can't be changed. I've changed my mind many times. Larry's brought up some valid points before. We're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. So you can tell me if you agree or disagree. But I look at this and I go, Didi's willing to do anything to get money. That means integrity's not in there. That means now there might be pieces to this story I don't know, and I'm willing to give some grace there.
But let's just assume there is no.
Right, but first impression, based off the data and the information I have, says that Didi is willing to do whatever it takes to get money. That is not a good way to run your life or your business, and that's just statistically true.
Well, maybe Didi needed the money, right? And a $14 million commission, whatever.
No. Listen,
I'm not saying it's $14 million, but the commission itself.
Listen, that doesn't work though. You know why? How long do you think it takes to sell a $14 million home?
I have no idea. A year, 10 years?
Probably 2 years. Especially in the current market.
Yes.
Right? We've reported several times on a decline in luxury markets that they're being more conservative even in the luxury space. This is my point. I'm not gonna fight tooth and nail for a contract that could be canceled at any point because the home doesn't sell in a year.
Yep.
There's a mansion not far from where I live. It was originally listed for $8 million. They had it on the market for 2 years. Owner got tired of it, fired them. They spent thousands of dollars marketing that, by the way.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Okay. They hired a new person. The new person listed it for $9.6 million. So they upped it $1.6 million. I don't know if they sold it or not. I lost interest after like 2 years. But I look at that and I'm like, imagine you jumped through all those hoops. You lost your dignity. You spent a fortune. How much work do you think this person is going to expect the agent to do?
Right.
Serve hand and foot. They're going to ask him. I guarantee you, they're going to ask him to pick them up coffee.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to ask them to do chores, ask them to overlook and monitor things they shouldn't. And
Watch
then 6 months in, a year later, it doesn't sell. They're going to go, well, someone else is willing to jump through more hoops. I'm going to go with them. Right? You know what this is? This reminds me of that creepy Hollywood crap, right? Where female actresses would sleep with major producers and owners. And then they would just say, well, it's what you had to do to get the role. And it's like, you didn't have to do it. And by the way, you don't have to be famous.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 sides to that story, but we're getting a whole different thing. Right? Anyway, I would not do it, but it doesn't mean I'm right. At the end of the day, we are CEOs of our own business. Didi, if you watch this and you want to call me out, by the way. And honestly, Didi, I would love to hear your side of the story. I bet you there's context missing. I bet maybe you had a really strategic plan. Man, for all we know, you knew this client and you were actually friends with them too.
Right.
And so it could have been a much more comfortable scenario. And I really want to be a gracious person who doesn't leave room for, or who does leave room for interpretation and misinterpretation. So Dee Dee, if you ever watch this, or anybody who knows Dee Dee, I would actually love to hear more about this story.
That's awesome.
So with that being said, we'll start to wrap it up. I guess I should probably give the announcement that this will more than likely, at least for the time being, be the last episode for Scale Through the Fail, at least on Fridays, maybe some one-offs every now and then. The once a month market updates will continue, but those hosts will likely be changing to Mark Warner and Chris Rains, who are building a amazing YouTube channel covering Tennessee, and so it made a lot of sense for them to become leaders, giving you amazing market updates. So, Larry, give me some of your favorite moments or memories on this show, because you've been doing it with me for what,
At
6, 7,
least
8 months,
I don't
9?
know. I don't think 9 months. At least half a year for sure. My favorite moments, I would say when clients or not clients, audience members chime in, right? And we start kind of going back and forth with them, and just those are my favorite parts of the show. I don't remember a particular moment where that happened, but whenever someone logs on and someone starts commenting and they kind of just be part of the conversation, those are my favorite parts of the show for sure. My second favorite part is going to be probably like the reaction, like to the memes and such, right? Because I always see the memes, but I usually see the memes by myself. Like it's me by myself looking at my phone, and I react to it. I laugh about it. Having someone there to talk about it at the same time, it's definitely a different experience. So yeah, so sharing memes with you, Robert's probably one of my favorite moments, other than the audience members chiming in.
I've definitely had a blast. I've been doing this almost 2 years now,
Wow.
which is pretty crazy, man. As someone who prior to this never did anything live, every now and then, I think maybe 1 or 2 times, I would pop up and do a random live
Mm-hmm.
for something, and then to go and every Friday, almost never missing. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 times in 2 years
That's impressive.
um, that I didn't show up, and generally I had a replay available because I didn't want to leave people high and dry.
Mm-hmm.
So I will miss doing the show. I've really enjoyed doing the show. I hope we brought a lot of education and a lot of wisdom, or at the very least, I hope we helped change someone's perspective um, on how to view data and numbers and analyze things, and learn to really think differently um, about their job, about fear, about statistics. I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to repeat because I don't know. I feel like there's some magical word to say. If you guys ever want us to bring this back and you're watching this, drop some comments. Give us some highlights of things you love, what you like about the show. Larry and I might explore some other options too, maybe some newsletters or things that can be automated a little bit easier. The show may come back in the future as well. We'll see. But Larry, thanks for being so faithful, so helpful, showing up each week. I'm very grateful for you. Definitely we have a blast, man. We really do.
Yeah, well, it's an honor, to be a part of this. I mean, anytime I can help anybody, uh, I guess, be more or increase their mortgage IQ, I'm all about it, right? And I do this anyways, right? Just I don't get to do it live, so it's kind of cool to have an opportunity to have some sort of stage to present that. So it was my pleasure either way.
Dude, I appreciate you. And I guess Until next time.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye. All right, everyone. Well, that was at least temporarily the final episode of Scale Through the Fail. It has been a pleasure to be your host and bring you a value and education and insight and resources and anything else that I could possibly do to make your career better. And like I said, we may bring it back. But for now, just thanks for being such great and loyal viewers. And there are many, many more things in store. Just because this is shutting down, we actually have a new podcast coming in. A new podcast starting very soon, as well as a few other projects coming out that you will be hearing more about. And if you want to hear about those things or just be on the reminder for when we release newsletters or bring back the show, then make sure that you drop a comment and let us know. But thank you for pretty much almost 2 years of Scale Through the Fail. And I will see you guys